I am the Grateful Grump on Substack, and you can follow me there if you like. I would love to have you join my Substack. I've also written a couple of books. Escaping the Mortal Cage was my first book that I wrote. It's a cautious rebellion against life without God for the fraternity of uneasy believers. And so basically, if you know somebody or you yourself are in a situation where your faith is kind of tumbling down, you think, I just can't really believe this stuff anymore. You know, it's in our modern world, it's too difficult to believe. Then I would really recommend Escaping the Mortal Cage. It's a story-formed book, so lots of stories. It's very accessible, and it just helps us wrestle through questions of belief and unbelief. My second book came out just a month ago. This is 3 Years with a Monster. Our family has just gone through the 3 worst years of our life. We've gone through hell for the last 3 years. What happened to us is one of our daughters came down with a severe eating disorder and almost died. And so we spent many, many days in the hospital, many, many days in recovery, many, many days wondering what in the world is going on. The pressure of a child who won't eat almost destroyed our marriage, almost shattered our family. And so the last 3 years have been extremely difficult for us. And my daughter is well enough to reflect on this now, and so we decided as a way of therapy, as a way of healing, to co-author the book that chronicles the last 3 years of our life. So it's just come out now. So if your brain comes tumbling down, or you know somebody who's struggling with mental illness and wrestling with those kinds of things, I would really recommend this book. So those are the 2 books that are out. Squeezing Out Joy from the Desert Places. Now, what is joy? It's simply put, a sense of gladness, happiness, or delight. That's really what joy is. Philippians 4:4 tells us this. Always be full of joy in the Lord. I say it again, rejoice. Full stop. It's imperative. You have to be joyful, right? Be joyful. You don't have an option. You can't not be joyful. And so when I read a verse like this, especially in the context of the last 3 years, I get a little upset, right? Like, this feels impossible. What kind of an ask is this? What if you don't feel like rejoicing? What if you're suffering? What if your life sucks right now? Rejoice. No, just rejoice. Be full of joy. Well, that feels like nonsense to me. It feels impossible. And so I kind of I'm thinking like maybe I'm more of a Psalm 137 guy. Psalm 137 says, beside the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept as we thought of Jerusalem. We put away our harps, hanging them on branches of poplar trees. For our captors demanded a song from us. Our tormentors insisted on a joyful hymn. Sing us one of those songs of Jerusalem. But how can we sing the songs of the Lord while we're in a foreign land? Of course, you know this story. The Jewish people, their land was destroyed. They were forcibly removed. These are the survivors, so their friends and their relatives had been killed and slaughtered, and they were dragged back to modern-day Iran in chains and made slaves. And so their tormentors are like, why don't you sing some happy songs? And they're like, no, we're hanging our harps on the tree. We're not singing for you or anyone. We're stuck in this foreign land, and we are sad. There's no joy here. I can relate to that a little better. The bleak circumstances of these displaced persons made joy impossible. And so I guess I'm asking myself the question, do I choose joy or does joy choose me, right? So in Philippians 4:4, it's like you choose joy, right? You choose it. But in Psalm 137, it feels like joy is choosing me kind of based on my circumstances. And when circumstances are lousy, there's not a whole lot of joy. So which is it? Do I choose joy or does joy choose me? And of course, life is complicated and it's probably a bit of both. But today I'm going to help us discover 3 ways in which we all can choose joy when we're in difficult circumstances. First, we can choose joy by practicing gratitude. Second, by living for a cause greater than ourselves. And Thirdly, by believing that joy can be a beautiful byproduct of sorrow. First, squeeze out joy through practicing gratitude. It says here, Psalm 103, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all of his benefits." I remember during the second relapse of our eating disorder scenario, we thought we'd gotten over it, and so we booked a cabin in the mountains, and we went to celebrate as a family, only to realize that we were worse off than before. And so we're stuck in this cabin, wondering if our daughter would survive. Like it was really bad. This is what happened to me. The aroma of wood fire on the frosty air welcomed us as we pulled up to this old farmhouse last night. That smell immediately flooded me with a torrent of good memories from the winter camps long ago. Lake of the Woods, Boys Brigade, Camp Chautauqua, Northland. I hadn't imagined how many good memories could be released through a single smell. Taking the time to appreciate this blessing that swooped down on the cold air unlocked pure joy for me. It was the end of a long drive. There was luggage to haul and work to do, but the few moments it took to stop and smell the air and remember the delight of days past were well worth the interruption. When we practice gratitude, something as simple as a smell unlocks these memories, and we appreciate those memories, and we reflect those memories back as thanks to God. And what happens? What happens? There's joy. There's joy. And I found, like, through this situation that we've been working ourselves through, I found that if I practice this, things could be good. I'm appreciative of my five senses through which I can squeeze out joy in unexpected moments, regardless of our bleak situation. I try to count those moments and savor them and say thank you. My extra hot mocha. The bald eagle that visits me in the mornings when I'm on the seawall bench. My wife's sweet embrace. The smell of a hockey rink, but not the locker room. Do you agree? The unexpected smile from a stranger, the cat purring on my chest as I relax in my easy chair after a long day of work. If I can find these little moments each day and through gratitude turn them into little bursts of joy, I'm going to be okay no matter what happens, and so will you. That's the first. The second, squeeze out joy by living for a cause greater than yourself. I meet with a lot of immigrants. Just last week, there was a 61-year-old who came in looking for work. I hire people as well as give them housing. He's 61 years old. He's from Afghanistan. He fled the Taliban. He's not the right tribe for the Taliban, and he is not ideologically aligned with the Taliban, and so he had to flee. He left his wife and his 4 children 7 years ago. He got a good job here because he has an MBA. He's got a master's in business. He speaks 5 languages. He's brilliant. He had a great job in Canada. He comes into my office. I manage an SRO on the downtown east side. This is not exactly people looking for work from me, right? I need a job. I say, well, let's talk about it. I take him out for coffee, and he tells me this whole story. And I say to him, Ahmad, like how do you're separated from your family. The Taliban is trying to indoctrinate your children. You just, and here's the other thing. He lost his job, his good job. He lost it here because Canada has rejected his refugee claim after 7 years. And so now he gets laid off from his good job, and he's trying to find another good job, but no one will hire him because of his dubious refugee status here in Canada. So he can't find work. So he stumbles into my dirty old SRO looking for a job. Minimum wage is all I can give him. And I say to him, Ahmad, how do you keep from being depressed? How do you have joy in your life when things are so difficult for you? He looked at me and he said, Dennis, I can have joy and I can avoid depression because I live for a purpose greater than myself. Now, his purpose is quite clear. It's his wife and his 4 kids. He sends every penny he gets back to them so that he can privately educate his children to keep them out of the religious schools and prevent them from being indoctrinated by the Taliban. And so he says, every penny I send back gives me joy. And so he lives for a cause greater than himself. And I think there's something we can learn from him, right? Philippians 4:4 says, always be full of joy in the Lord. If we can understand what it means to rejoice in the Lord, we'll be able to have joy even in our bleak situations. And so, what are the 2 greatest joy robbers that exist? The 2 are bad choices and bad circumstances, right? Sometimes you're your own worst enemy, right? You make a lot of bad choices, and that robs you of your joy. And sometimes life just feels like it's against you, and so as a result, your joy is robbed. Bad choices and bad circumstances. And when you live for Jesus, when Jesus' cause is greater than your own, what does Jesus offer us when we make our bad choices? What is the answer? Forgiveness, yes. Yes, that's exactly right. And so the crushing and guilt and shame that so often rob us of the joy, we're not robbed of joy in those cases, right? Because we lift up our hands to Jesus and he forgives us. And so the guilt and shame doesn't have to be something that dominates us. So that is a wonderful reality of living for a cause greater than yourself in the person of Jesus. And then, what does Jesus offer when we are in bad circumstances? Hope, yes. So we have these bad circumstances, but we have a death-defeating hope, right? Your bleak situation and my bleak situation are not the end of the story. And this is why we can rejoice in the Lord. The Advent candle that burns before us reminds us of this, right? Jesus came to bring forgiveness and hope. And this is the story that gives us lasting joy. And so we take this story, because we don't live for ourselves. We take this story of forgiveness and hope into the world. And so I can forgive others because I have been forgiven. I can offer hope to others because I've been given hope. And so this vision that pulls us beyond ourselves helps us have joy. The third and final, we squeeze out joy by believing that joy can be a beautiful byproduct of sorrow. Now, this is a little harder to believe in, okay? Especially if you're going through hell right now. We're connected with a beautiful human being who this year lost his wife. He has an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And his wife had a heart attack and died. And so he is overwhelmed with loneliness and sorrow and questions of the future. This would not be a good time for me to slap my friend and say, it's time for you to grab some joy from your sorrow. Right? Sometimes we need to just sit in our sorrow and we need to grieve. And sometimes instead of offering sage advice, we should shut our mouths and sit in the dust with those who are wounded. And so this one's a bit trickier, but if it's true that light is never brighter than when you emerge from a dark cave, then it is also true that joy is never sweeter than when you come out of bitter times. As you know, we are just starting to emerge from our 3 years of hell. And my daughter, Tiki, graduated from high school this year. She almost didn't make it. She almost didn't make it. She almost died. She has suffered so much. And she graduated. There was a depth of joy for this dad that would not have been possible had the last 3 years not happened. And I took a little video, and I want you to listen to the lyrics of the song.
It's graduation day for this girl. If you've been following Tiki's story for the last 3 years, you know this is no small event. Congratulations, Tiki. We're proud of you.
Hi, Teacup.
You're glowing, you color and fracture the light. You can't help but shine. And I know that you carry the world on your back. But look at you tonight. The lights, your face, your eyes exploding like fireworks in.
We present to you the graduating class of 2025.
I want you to look at the lyrics to this song. You're glowing. You color and fracture the light. You can't help but shine. And I know that you carry the world on your back. And that's the thing about an eating disorder. It's a monster that sits on your shoulder. And you have anxiety over food and anxiety over body image and anxiety over what people think. And that weight of the world crushes you down into dust. And look at you tonight. The light, your face, your eyes exploding like fireworks in the sky. That was the moment. That was that moment. And I was filled with joy. Matthew 18:13, Jesus says, and if he finds it, I tell you the truth, he'll rejoice more over it than the 99 that didn't wander away. The shepherd lost the sheep. He had to go through the darkness of anxiety of losing the sheep, but then he found it, and there was great joy. This is how you can find joy in your sorrow. It happened for the shepherd Jesus talked about. It happened for me at graduation, and it can happen for you as well. As you look at the Advent candle that represents joy, know that you can squeeze out joy in desert places when you practice gratitude, when you live for a cause that is greater than yourself, and when you believe that joy can be a beautiful byproduct of sorrow. Practice gratitude. Greater than yourself, grab joy from your sorrow. I will pray. Thanks, God, for your good word. And thank you that because of the story we believe in, we can never truly be overcome with grief and sorrow. The desert places will not win. And thank you that we have these avenues to squeeze out joy. I pray that you would help us to believe them and live them for your glory and our joy. Amen.